This year was Sonic's 33rd anniversary. He's 33 years old. Look at him. Doesn't look a day over 17. What a spry man. And I wanted to go over basically where we are as a franchise for Sonic. Where we are as a franchise for Sonic, it's in a good place now. We're in a really good place for the Sonic fandom. A place we haven't been in for a long time, where everything is pretty much going at all cylinders. We have a great amount of excitement and track record of video games lately. We've had TV shows, movies coming out, and everyone is excited. And it seems like Sega is more invested in the series than maybe they've ever been. They're making an actual dedicated effort on the lore, to tighten up lore around the series, on making sure everything is all well polished. And it's a real nice change of pace to see the owning company take this much of an interest and actually care about your product. But what I wanted to do now is talk about what is the future of Sonic. Where are we gonna go beyond this year in 2024? So let's take a look at what we have in 2024. We still have, of course, Sonic Shadow Generations to come out. We've got Sonic Rumble to come out. We've got Movie 3 to come out, and the Movie 3 trailer when that comes out in 50 years. After Movie 3 is released, then they'll release the Movie 3 trailer. We have all that still to come, and that is still quite a bit. And, there's a lot of stuff to do in Shadow Generations, especially with all the pre-order stuff and everything they're promising. And then Sonic Rumble, that's going to have should have a big audience with what I heard from the beta test. People really liked it, and it's going to be a mobile game a la Fall Guys. And Fall Guys was doing really well in when it first came out. So I'm sure Sonic Rumble will do great. And then Movie 3, that's going to have a bunch of buzz when that trailer drops. And then when the movie itself comes out, all the discussions, the reviews, the what could they do, all that type of stuff, we're in a very good place with what's still to come. So, with 2024 being that, what is the next couple of years? Well, we're going to divide this into sections. There's the games, there's TV, live action, and the comics. So, let's start off with the main, which is the games. What video games are on the horizon for us? Well, I think what I'm going to do is here, I am going to talk about, first, let's talk about remasters, remakes, all that type of stuff. Sonic team have said, especially Takashi Iizuka, that they want to have at least a video game product out a year. Every year there will be something, whether it's a full game or at least a remaster or a port of a game, so that way there's something for you to have. There's always some sort of video game content in the pipeline for fans, which is a good idea, I think. Always keeping them invested in something. So, what is to come? Well, I don't think we're going to get the next Sonic game next year. I don't think so. I think we're probably looking at another remaster or remake or something. Of course, the big remake that everyone wants is the Sonic Heroes remake. Do I think the Sonic Heroes remake is coming? I think eventually. I don't think it'll be as soon as people want it, but I do think eventually we will get a Sonic Heroes remake. Especially with Iizuka saying, if people make their voices heard and they say what remake or remaster they want next, we'll do it. Well, that's the big one, which is Sonic Heroes. So I do think a Sonic Heroes remake is possible, but I still don't think it's going to be quite so soon. But I do think it will happen eventually. I made a video recently talking about the Sonic GBA games and how it'd be great for Sega to make a collection of them and put them on consoles and bring these games back to the forefront. They are a sadly lost and forgotten part of Sonic media. There is bits of them that still persist to this day, like Cream the Rabbit, Gemroll and Emerald, especially with Shadow Generations, with them bringing Emerald back in because of his ties with Project Shadow and Gerald Robotnik and the Ark and all that type of stuff. There is important things in the Sonic Advance games. They do matter, and they are overall just great 2D Sonic games. Level design with Dimps going crazy with the bottomless pits and spikes, that's a problem, but overall, Sonic Advance and Sonic Battle is fantastic games. I mean, Sonic Battle, it's a Sonic fighting game. People have been asking for a Sonic fighting game for freaking forever now. So I think, like I said in my video, which you can go watch, I think a collection of all the GBA games would make for a very easy idea and a collection to get people excited to play that. I think that is something that would work. And then finally here for the remaster, remake, whatever section, I think Sonic Unleashed, a remaster of that, would be so easy to do. I mean, all you really have to do is tighten up the visuals, because mainly everyone enjoyed the boost sections, the daytime sections. That is 100% across the board loved. So you don't really have to do anything there. Maybe for the Werehog sections, tighten up the combat a bit, but really all you have to do for Sonic Unleashed, because it still looks really good even today. So I think Sonic Unleashed, all you really have to do is just bump up the visuals, maybe tighten a bit in the Werehog sections, and then I think you're pretty good for Sonic Unleashed. I think Sonic Unleashed is a very easy remaster to do, and again, that's one that fans have been asking for a long time. So that's the remaster section of the video games, what they could do. Now I'm gonna spitball some game ideas I think Sega could do in the future that I think people would probably be invested in. The first one I'm gonna say is bring back the Chao Garden. I think the Chao Garden is a big thing that people want. We haven't had the Chao Garden, oh my god, in forever. And while I'm not a huge fan of the Chao Garden, it's fine, but I know a lot of people really want that. And if you can hear that that's what most of the audience is clamoring for, you should provide it. So I think the Chao Garden coming back is a good idea. Now, how would I bring back the Chao Garden? Because it's just raising a Chao, I don't think it actually needs to be a console game. I think the Chao Garden would work as a great mobile game of you raising your Chao on your phone or tablet, whatever, and you can check up on the little guy every now and then. Like those virtual pet things, right? I think that's how a Chao Garden now could work as a mobile game. Sega really wants to go into the mobile games. Well, Chao Garden, I think, is a perfect mobile game for you to do, and that's something you can get Sega Hardlight or Rovio to do for their mobile. And that would make so much money. Really, if you added in like customizable outfits for your Chao, oh my god, people are gonna go crazy over that, man. People would go nuts. So I think the Chao Garden as a mobile game would be great. Another one I did, which is another previous video I did, which is Sonic Warriors. Basically a Warriors game in the style of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I detailed it pretty much in that video, so if you want to go and watch that video, you can. But a Warriors game in the Sonic franchise, I think would be a fantastic idea, which is, this is, you're going to see the theme here, just expanding the Sonic IP to different video game genres that we haven't really touched upon before. And a Warriors game is one of those. Another IP I think we could do is something like an Ace Attorney game, where you're in a court trying to, pin it on someone. Pin the crime on someone, trying to convict them. You've done this bad thing and we're going to get you with the Chaotix. A Chaotix video game with the modern Chaotix, but in the style of like an Ace Attorney thing, where you have to get the right evidence, solve the clues, and then build up a good case to prove that this person is the culprit. I think would be fantastic idea for the Chaotix, and a great way to bring them back into the forefront because the Chaotix, they have been kind of lesser characters as the years have gone by. I think their last video game appearance was Murder Sonic the Hedgehog, but when's the last time they've really been in like a huge big game? Oh my god, I don't even know. Sonic Forces, probably. Yeah, Sonic Forces. But even then, who cared about them in Sonic Forces? They were just there to say a couple lines and not really do much. But making them the center of a spin-off game in the style of Ace Attorney, when the Chaotix, they're an investigative agency. It works perfectly. So I think making a spin-off game about the Chaotix would bring them back into the forefront, and in the style of Ace Attorney, like I said, that's the perfect way to go about it, I personally believe. Who would be in the game besides the Chaotix? I mean, obviously we'd have to be who they pin the crimes on. So like, Eggman, I would say. Maybe you can get bring out some characters from IDW if you need to. You can bring in Clutch, the Opossum, and his whole clean sweep thing. Just maybe even bring out some older villains that we haven't quite seen in some time. This is just a brief thing. I'm not going full deep into what to do. This is just like a brief kind of pitch of a Chaotix game. Another game I think they could do, which is something Azuka said he wants to do, he wants a full-on Sonic RPG. Now, a lot of people laugh when Azuka said this because, Sonic Chronicles, but I mean, Sonic Chronicles, I think he means what he meant by that is a Sonic RPG developed by Sonic Team. Sonic Chronicles was developed by BioWare. So they didn't actually make, Sega did not make Sonic Chronicles. So I think what Iizuka is saying is he wants a RPG done by Sonic Team. And I think we all can agree that's exactly what we want. We'd all live and breathe for Sonic RPG. I mean, look at Mario right now. They remade the Super Mario RPG to tremendous success. They remade A Thousand Year Door, Paper Mario, which is an RPG, to immense success. They just announced Mario and Luigi Brothership. That's an RPG to immense fanfare and success, and people are looking forward to it. So RPGs, and you look at the sales of stuff like how great and all the exposure Final Fantasy still gets to these days, and how people were excited for the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD remasters, or remakes, sorry. How excited people were for those. RPGs are thankfully in a very good place where people are always going to be excited about them, and we're in a good market now for RPGs. So a Sonic RPG, that's going to do so well, especially one that's developed by Sonic Team, and it's maybe it doesn't have to be in canon, it can be its own thing, but I think a Sonic RPG would be great. Now, what type of RPG they do, that's up to them. I think maybe don't do a turn-based one, because we just had that with Chronicles. So maybe do a different type of RPG. You could do a strategy RPG, sure, or you could do maybe an action RPG, kind of using maybe the Frontiers model of an open world kind of thing. You could do that, but there's so many types of RPGs, it's endless. They can do whatever they want. But yeah, Sonic RPG easily. And then the final game I'm gonna ask for as a pitch idea for what they could do is a Sonic racing game, a new Sonic racing game. Now this can be what they want. They could be a kart racer. We haven't had a kart racer in quite a bit, but what I would personally like is a kind of a more sequel to Sonic R, where it's Sonic characters racing on foot. You know, Sonic R, for all its faults, is such a good idea, I think, of what a racing game in Sonic should be, which is, I mean, he's a character who goes fast. He's built for racing games, and they've never quite gotten a racing game for Sonic down, really, which does suck, bar the kart racers, because I think Team Sonic Racing and Sega All-Stars Transformed were great ideas and steps in the right direction for a Sonic racing game, but let's get a full-on Sonic racing game. I think now a modern version of like a Sonic R could work. It really could work, especially if they use like the boost formula. I think it could work. It just needs a bit of tweaking here and there, but really, I think a new Sonic racing game in the style of something like Sonic R would do great. So those are the video games done. Let's move on to TV shows. What they could do for TV shows. I think right now we're going to be taking a bit of a break for Sonic TV shows because Sonic Prime just finished this year, so I think we're going to take a bit of a break for TV shows for the while now. And of course, when I say TV shows, I mean, of course, an animated TV show. But I think in the future, obviously, we will get another Sonic TV show, and when we do get the new Sonic TV show, I would love it if it is 2D hand-drawn animation, maybe an anime. Come on, we've been asking for it, man. And you see all the great 2D animations that Sonic Team has put out. You look at the ones for Sonic Colors, for Sonic Frontiers, Shadow Generations that they're doing. You look at all these great animations that they are doing, and it's like, why don't you do more of this? Why don't you make a show with this animation? And especially look at something like Shadow Generations and the quality of that animation. Oh my god! It looked beautiful. An entire show with that quality would be so, so good. Now, you just get the right writers on there. You get Ian Flynn to write at, man, we are looking at some good stuff right there. And it doesn't even need to be in continuity. It can be its own thing, like a Sonic X, where maybe it adapts the video games into a TV show. I think that'd be great. Just an entire Sonic show that literally goes from Sonic 1 onward and just adapts all the video games into a TV show would be great. Or it could just be its own thing and have an entirely original plot, but just look gorgeous in 2D hand-drawn animation. So what I'm essentially asking is, for the next Sonic show, make it anime, make it 2D drawn, please, because all your animations look beautiful. And the intros to all their video games, like the Dream Team intro, the stuff they did for Sonic Origins, just Sonic Mania, it's just beautiful, and more of it. Let's get a full show like that. So next up, we're going to move on to the live action stuff, the live action portion. Now, Sonic Movie 3. After this, I believe they said they don't want any more Sonic movies. Really, they're going to be like Avengers level type stuff. So what I think we're mainly going to see for the live action side of things is more TV shows on Paramount Plus. Well, Paramount Plus might be. Looks like that's going to go away probably soon. So wherever we end up, I think we're mainly going to see more TV shows. So what I would say is, obviously spin-off shows would be the thing. I think the biggest one would be after movie 3, depending on what they do, is a Shadow TV show. I think would do a Shadow the Hedgehog TV show. Again, depending on how much they adapt from Sonic Adventure 2 into movie 3, if they end off the same way with it looking like Shadow dies, then I think a Shadow spin-off adapting his storyline of the Shadow Android and Black Doom, you know, taking bits from Sonic Heroes and then the Shadow the Hedgehog video game and making that a TV show, I think that'd be great. I think we would all appreciate that. I think that would be a great TV show, a Shadow spin-off show. And in the Shadow spin-off show, you can introduce Rouge, because I doubt we're getting Rouge and Amy in movie 3. I think they've said we're not going to. So maybe introduce Rouge in like a Shadow TV show. That'd be nice, with Omega in there too. You know, again, it also depends on what happens to Eggman as well in movie 3, whether he lives or not. I'm gonna hope he lives, and maybe we can get something to do with him in that Shadow show. And then, of course, there's Amy. What are we going to do with Amy in live action? We will get her eventually. I think, again, a TV show would be the perfect way. Maybe a TV show adapting Sonic CD with introducing Metal Sonic and Amy as well. And Sonic would obviously be in that as well. Sonic CD adaptation in a TV show, I think, would be great. Again, if they get rid of Robotnik in movie 3, you can just have it. He was building Metal Sonic off screen. And now that he's gone, there's like been like a fail-safe execution that's gone, and Metal Sonic is out there. So you can do that. But yeah, spin-off shows is probably the big thing. I think, like I said, the Shadow show, Sonic CD show, those are probably, I think, the prime candidates to get people like Amy and Rouge into the cinematic universe. And then eventually, when it comes down to it, you can do more team-up movies. Maybe Sonic 4 will be about, because they talked about Iblis in Knuckles, maybe, and the Flames of Disaster and all that type of stuff, maybe that could be your movie 4, which is bringing in Silver and them fighting Iblis. I think that could probably be movie 4 if they eventually do it. But yeah, that's what I've got for the live action stuff. And then finally, what we're going to hit on is the comics. What is Sonic going to do for comics? Now, as much as I love the IDW comics, and I really love the IDW comics, they're on borrowed time. And that's not due to the stories being bad or anything. It's mainly due to the fact that IDW itself could shut down at any moment. IDW, the publisher, is not doing good. It has not been doing well for a long time now. It is on death's door. You could blow on it right now and it would keel over and die. That's how weak IDW is at this point. So I think the IDW comics are sadly on borrowed time. Hopefully they can finish the story they have right now with Clean Sweep before we say goodbye to the IDW comics. But, you know, don't be hopeful. The Clean Sweep arc is taking quite a bit, which I'm fine with stories building up and taking their time. But you gotta really hurry this up now, especially with the fact, like I said, IDW's on death's door, and you don't know how much longer we have left. Now, I think one of the things I really want to talk about with IDW is how they're making it matter more, which I am thankful for, that they are counting the comics and they talk about these comics all the time, and they're not just like how the Archie comics were saying, like, oh yeah, those are going on as well, but they don't really matter, right? Like, they didn't care before. Now they really care about the IDW comics. They mention them all the time. You get mentions to stuff from the IDW comics in like their Tails tubes, right? Tangle was just mentioned in Sonic Frontiers. IDW characters like Surge, Tangle, Whisper have been showing up in the mobile games like Sonic Dash. So like, you know, and in their Sonic Central, not Sonic Central, sorry, but like the Sonic season things that they do on like the Sonic YouTube channel, those live streams with the social media team and all that, they're always bigging up the comics, and they are always making sure to mention that they are canon. These comics are video game canon and take place after Forces. So what happens in these games is affecting the characters in the video games. So what's happening in the books is affecting the characters in the video games. It matters, which is really nice, and that is a double-edged sword because it's good because it, you know, brings more attention to them, and they are promoting the comics more because, like I said, they count to the video games. But also it's a double-edged sword because they can't take as much risk as I think the Archie comics could, because the Archie comics were in their own continuity. So they could do really whatever the hell they want, make whatever the hell they want, you know, do whatever spin they wanted. But the Archie comics are, again, a kid. They're beholden to the games, and they can't do too big of stuff because it's like, well, if they did that, why didn't they mention it in the video games? Like, you know, they had the Metal Virus arc, and no mention of it in the video games after. Everyone is just fine. But, you know, that is the double-edged sword. You are kind of beholden to the games. But that's the problem with anything when you're in a massive IP and you are beholden to their canon, which is you must respect where you are in the timeline and hold on to it and respect it. But just because you're stuck in like a little section doesn't mean you can't do creative stuff in it, right? Sadly, a lot of people nowadays don't agree. I'm looking at you, Marvel and Star Wars. But, you know, again, the comics have proven they can do really good stuff where they are set. You know, like I said, the Metal Virus arc, the Neo Metal stuff with Angel Island, the stuff they did with Surge and Kit, Scrapnik Island. You know, they've done good stuff in these comics that are like, wow, that's really, really good and set in where they are. So, you know, the IDW comics have done good things, but like I said, I think what we need to do right now with them is start to wrap up this clean sweep arc. They've just started a new story arc based on Sonic Riders, which is awesome, by the way. More love to the Sonic Riders games. Those games rule. But I think it's time we wrap up this clean sweep arc really quick before IDW goes under. Now, not just talking about IDW, comics in general, I think what they should do is maybe make video game adaptations. Like, make graphic novel video game adaptations for the video games. You know, this is something that many video games and stuff have done before, which is make manga / graphic novel adaptations of it. I mean, you see, like, Legend of Zelda. Let's take Nintendo, for example. They have Legend of Zelda manga out there, which is adapting the video games. You know, stuff like Sword Art Online, which was a light novel initially, now has manga adapting the light novels, you know? Which I think is a great way to kind of eternalize and immortalize the story in a way, right? So if you loved The Legend of Zelda, say Twilight Princess so much, well, and you want to experience the story again, but maybe you don't want to play the game, you just kind of want the story, or maybe you want to introduce someone to the story of Legend of Zelda, but they're kind of iffy on playing a game, you can just show them the manga and be like, here, read this is the story. And then they can read it and go, oh, that's interesting. And then they'll go play the games. I think that's something for Sonic, too. Maybe someone's not too interested in a Sonic game, but you want to tell them the story. Well, here's this graphic novel of Sonic Unleashed. Why don't you read this? Here's this graphic novel of Sonic Frontiers. Why don't you read this? This is the story. It's really good. I think that's something that Sega should more look into, is making a manga / graphic novel of their video games. I think that would work too. And then maybe as well, maybe look at making another comic book series published by yourself for when IDW goes under. But anyway, that's what I've just got here for stuff for Sonic. What we could see for Sonic in the future. Of course, a mainline Sonic game is coming down the line. I think maybe the earliest we can look forward to it is maybe 2027? Late 2026 or 2027, because when was Forces? 17, so it was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 was Frontiers. So that's 5 years. So we have 24, 25. So 23 technically was still Frontiers because they were still updating it. So then we have 24, 25, 26, 27. So yeah, I would say that's about a 4-year gap, 4 or 5 years to wait for the next mainline Sonic game. Yeah, I think that's probably when we probably get the next mainline Sonic game. But like I said, okay. Now I'm going to end the video off here. I was just looking at what could happen for the future of Sonic and some ideas for what Sega could do for this franchise in the future. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you have any ideas for what you would want Sega to do in the future, let me know as well in the comments. And I'll see you guys all next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.